Did you know that many restaurants are closing their doors and a retirement crisis is looming? In today's video, we will explore how inflation and the pandemic have transformed the economic landscape, forcing even retirees to return to work. Plus, discover how the pandemic affected the restaurant industry and the importance of financially planning for the future. Don't miss out. Recession and restaurants people in the United States are feeling about 10 years older than they really are, and everyone points to the same daily annoyances. Let's go. Kevin O'Leary comments on why restaurants are closing all over the country and that even more will shut down. With high inflation, many retirees are contemplating returning to the workforce, and several people are delaying the purchase of new cars, which is not good for the automotive industry. O'Leary highlights that the situation for restaurants in the US is concerning. Many are facing bankruptcies, layoffs, and closures, affecting famous chains like Red Lobster and Applebee's. All of this is a result of inflation and the drop in customer numbers after the pandemic. Every day, it seems there's news about the closure of a beloved place. He explains that the rise in food prices and the shift to remote work have greatly impacted restaurants, especially in urban areas where expensive locations are not attracting the customer volume they need. Restaurants in central regions are the hardest hit because they can't draw enough customers to pay the rent. It's like buying a car in the past. You would go to the dealership. But nowadays, with Uber Eats and other options, it's much easier to order food than to go out. The restaurant industry is struggling, and he is absolutely right. To give a broader overview, he mentions the Applebee's in downtown Dallas, which has not been attracting many people from the skyscrapers. If you have a profit of 15% and face a 20% drop in customer numbers, it soon becomes complicated to keep the doors open. Yes, remote work and urban areas are contributing to the situation. But just imagine, how many problems could you solve at once and still keep the business afloat? Some of our major stores in the centers are suffering because foot traffic has drastically declined. The situation is so complicated that we may need to close some of them, as they are burning cash without bringing any return. Furthermore, the profitability is plummeting due to food prices. TransUnion reported that over the last 4 years, food inflation has been 30%. In other words, the cost of ingredients has gone up, and in 4 states, we will have to face a minimum wage of $20. What problems can restaurants solve all at once? They are dealing with unprofitable locations due to decreased customer traffic, facing a $20 minimum wage, and still have to cope with food inflation. Kevin O'Leary is right, and he is only touching on one of the problems. It's sad because many people have their favorite restaurants and still go there, but these establishments simply cannot survive. Look, an interesting analysis. Take a look at the revenues and usage statistics of Uber Eats. This data is from 2 months ago. The revenues of Uber Eats from 2018 until now show that in the first quarter of 2020, when COVID emerged, they felt the decline. But in fact, the pandemic skyrocketed Uber Eats business. From 2018 to 2019, the growth was modest, at only 20%. But from 2019 to 2020, it was almost a 3-fold increase. In 2021, they doubled again. And in 2022, when restrictions ended, they reached $12.1 billion. That difference between $1.9 billion and $12.1 billion is the money that left restaurants and went to Uber Eats drivers, delivering food to people. What the closure of restaurants due to COVID did was basically divert a mountain of money to companies like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna. This revenue of about $100 billion came from the collapse of the restaurant industry. According to the National Restaurant Association, sector sales were $240 billion below what was expected before the pandemic. In just the last year, over 110,000 food and beverage establishments closed their doors. And Big Pharma, they made $90 billion in profits just from COVID-19 vaccines. This is like moving money from a 401k. The funds from the 200,000 restaurant owners who shut down ended up in the hands of Big Pharma. This leads us to a reflection. Here's an idea. Every sector has its lobbyists, and it's clear that Big Pharma's lobbyists have more power than those in the restaurant industry. Why didn't the restaurant industry lobby harder to protect itself? What kind of resources do they have? What is the largest restaurant chain capable of voicing its concerns? Why were they so silent? They were truly decimated. If we think about it, restaurants and fast food chains usually cater to low and middle-income customers, right? When you walk into a McDonald's or Burger King, what is the largest restaurant chain that is not fast food? Looking at Applebee's, it currently generates $570 million in revenue. That is its market value. Interestingly, they spend $200 million less than their revenue just on lobbying. They have no chance of winning. Therefore, the lesson is that Big Pharma's lobbyists are more powerful than those of the restaurant industry. And thus, the restaurant industry was ravaged. Exactly, this transfer of money from 200,000 restaurant owners to Big Pharma is an interesting perspective and reveals how COVID was a true meteor that hit the industry. What you are mentioning is crucial. Uber Eats capitalized on this situation, taking a large chunk of market share from many restaurants, all as a result of policies that did not consider the consequences. It's true that, viewed from a macro perspective, this can be seen as a form of business Darwinism. The essential question is whether businesses can adapt to the new market realities. The rate of stability on the Fortune 500 list is shocking. As you pointed out, many of the largest companies of the past, which seemed invincible, simply disappeared. Wamu, Lehman Brothers, Kmart, Blockbuster. These names were giants but failed to adapt. Recently, with the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, we have more examples of the need for adaptation. If a company cannot change with the times and makes poor decisions, the result can be extinction. And I fully agree with what Patrick Bet-David says. It is vital to work harder, structure better, and, essentially, focus on survival. If you fail in any of these areas, the chances of surviving in the market decrease drastically. However, you made an interesting observation. For many restaurants, what happened with COVID was a catastrophic event, like a meteor. In practice, they were forced to close, changing their operations solely to deliveries through Uber Eats. Many of the more profitable operations, such as the bar and customer service, were lost. Only a limited number of employees continued working in the kitchen, which completely altered the business model. This abrupt change made survival even more difficult, especially for those who were already struggling before the pandemic. You've raised a crucial point by comparing the COVID pandemic to a meteor that hit the restaurant industry. It's true that owners need to be aware of the political environment, especially since political decisions directly impact their businesses. The saying "politics is a dirty business" often leads people to overlook its importance. But as you pointed out, if you pay taxes, you are indeed participating in politics. Ignoring this is risking being governed by those who truly care. And often, that's not what we want. The political context played a huge role in decisions about lockdowns and reopenings, where differences between states, like California and Florida, are quite evident. The example of Bob Iger and the Disney situation illustrates the divide that resulted from divergent policies. While California imposed severe restrictions, Florida ended up becoming a more open space for business operations, benefiting restaurants and amusement parks. The retirement crisis next issue on the table is quite concerning. the retirement crisis. The fact that 44% of American retirees are considering returning to work due to inflation is alarming. With Social Security benefits that are not enough to cover living costs, many retirees are facing a harsh reality. The cost of living adjustment of 3.2% in 2024, while an attempt to help, is still not enough to keep up with rising prices of goods and services. When you mention that the average Social Security payment is $1,907, while the average monthly spending for Americans aged 65 and older reaches for $1,818, it becomes clear that there is a significant gap. This not only shows an economic challenge for the older generation, but also highlights the need for a deeper analysis of how public policies can be better adjusted to meet the financial needs of retirees. This crisis may create additional pressure on the labor market and sectors like the restaurant industry, where many retirees could fill temporary or part-time positions. You brought up very relevant data regarding the crisis that retirees are facing, and it's evident that financial pressure is mounting. The average Social Security payment of $1,907 in 2024, compared to the average spending of $4,818 for people aged 65 and older, truly illustrates the disparity many face, with 27% relying on these earnings as their sole income. It's alarming to see that inflation and high interest rates are making the situation unsustainable. Economic pressure is palpable, with 61% of retirees reporting daily difficulties. The fact that around 25% of non-retired investors expect to return to work due to lack of savings is a clear signal of growing concern. Doubt about the ability to save enough for retirement is a recurring theme that many are facing, evidenced by the 19% who plan to retire later than expected. Interesting numbers you cited, with 79% of people identifying inflation as the biggest economic problem, are impressive. The way concerns have shifted over time, moving from broader economic worries in Q4 to intense focus on inflation early in 2022, indicates how the economic crisis is directly impacting public perception. And what Tom mentions about problems upstream and downstream is extremely pertinent. The idea that a 70-year-old needs to return to work because they did not save enough is symptomatic of a larger issue. Often, people do not realize the importance of financial education and retirement planning until it is too late. This upstream issue is about lack of preparation and awareness. Many simply are not equipped to deal with the challenges of retirement, especially in times of rising inflation. In summary, it is crucial for both young people and those approaching retirement to recognize the importance of saving and investing adequately. Financial education is a vital tool that can help mitigate the effects of future crises and ensure that more people can experience a comfortable and secure retirement. The message here is clear and powerful. The responsibility for your future financial security truly starts now. If you're in your 30s or 40s and not paying attention to your finances, you will likely face serious difficulties when retirement comes. What you do in your life now has a direct impact on your future. And the reality is that no one will care about your financial struggles later. You are the only one responsible for your financial security, and it is essential to start saving and investing as soon as possible. The coin metaphor, heads or tails, is an intriguing way to remember that merely depending on luck isn't a viable strategy. The fact that 50% of people may end up in public assistance illustrates a tangible risk that many ignore. Statistics show that many are unprepared for retirement, and this can result in an unwanted dependence on Social Security, which, as we know, may not be sufficient. Practical advice 1. Start saving and investing now. Each is crucial. The earlier you start investing, the more time you have on your side. It's not just about saving, but about learning about investments that can grow over time and help you achieve your financial goals. 2. Learn from past mistakes Many of our parents may not have had the best financial strategies. It's vital to learn from their mistakes as well as from their successes, so you can make informed decisions for your future. 3. Take finances seriously. If there's no focus on finances, the consequences can be severe. The pastor's saying about not paying attention to your financial resources resonates deeply. You will pay a price for that negligence. It's crucial to create a budget, track spending, and seek opportunities to increase your income. 4. Keep focused on the long term. It's easy to get distracted by day-to-day things like football or other interests. But keep in mind that those distractions won't help with your bills. The reality is that clubs and sports organizations often do not provide adequate retirement plans. You need to be proactive in securing your future. This message serves as a call to action. If you don't start now, when you look back, you may wonder how you ended up in this situation. Taking care of your finances isn't just a matter of desire. It's a necessity to ensure a stable and prosperous future. Retirement shouldn't be a time of financial stress, but rather a time to enjoy the fruits of a lifetime of good work. Your reflection on the responsibilities that come with aging and the importance of caring for the elderly resonates deeply. The message that Dash shared, reminding the young to take care of the old wolf, is valuable advice that many need to hear. The truth is that while we focus on our own lives and ambitions, we often forget that one day we too will be old, and in many cases, we depend on younger generations. Intergenerational responsibility 1. Caring for the elderly, the reality that we cannot guarantee that the government or others will care for our parents or grandparents in the ways they need. If you love your family, it is your responsibility to do your part. This may mean providing financial, emotional, or even time and companionship support. The issue of public assistance you mentioned, what the government can offer in terms of benefits, is simply a fraction of what many families truly need. 2. The impact of work on the lives of the elderly. Your father's story is an excellent example of how work can bring meaning and vitality to life, even at advanced ages. Working is not just about financial aspects, it's often a matter of purpose. The desire to remain active is a powerful motivator that helps keep the mind and body healthy. This underscores the importance of not only preparing financially, but also maintaining a lifestyle that promotes longevity and happiness. 3. The role of community. We live in a society where the responsibility for caring for the elderly is often seen as something that belongs to the government. However, community and family play fundamental roles. When we view seniors as a valuable part of our communities, we can find ways to collaborate to ensure they receive the support and attention they need. Conclusion: these reflections are fundamental as we navigate life and approach different stages of the journey. Working to build a better future for our parents and grandparents is part of the responsibility we hold as children and members of society. As you make decisions today, remember that your actions will have a long-term impact on your family and your own life. Preparing is not only about saving money. It's also about building healthy relationships and being present for those we love. This is a legacy worth leaving. Your story about the Uber driver is a powerful reminder of the consequences of not financially planning for the future. But it also brings forth an encouraging perspective on finding satisfaction and purpose in work. Even at old ages, working after retirement. 1. Contribution and connection. The idea that older individuals should find ways to engage and contribute, even if it's in a part-time job, is valuable. This not only helps financially, but also offers an opportunity for social interaction, which is vital for our mental and emotional health. By mingling with younger generations, it is possible to stay energized and feel more alive, much like what you mentioned about your daughter, Brooklyn. 2. The importance of purpose. Your mother's example, who loves working as a nurse, illustrates this idea well. For many, Work is not just a way to earn money, but a way to feel valued and fulfill a meaningful role within the community. A passion for what one does can be a strong motivating factor and will help keep both the mind and body active. 3. Consequences of living in the moment. The Uber driver you encountered is a darker case. His story is a poignant reminder that living just for the present, without thinking about future repercussions, can lead to a difficult situation. It's tragically common to see people who did not adequately prepare for retirement facing financial hardships, often leading them to situations they would not wish for, like driving for a nap. This illustrates the importance of educating oneself financially and planning for the long term. Final reflections. The key here is the balance between enjoying the present and preparing for the future. Working after 70, if it's something you love, should not only be seen as a necessity, but also as an opportunity to stay active and connected. It's a reminder that time is always passing, and worrying about the future is a critical part of life. By listening to stories like that of the driver, we can learn not only what to avoid, but also how we can seek a path that keeps our lives full, vibrant, and meaningful as we age. And, of course, it interweaves the responsibility of caring for oneself and others, something that transcends all ages. Did you enjoy the video? Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. Comment below on how you're preparing for the future, or if you know someone facing these challenges. Together, let's build a more solid and secure future.